So we are going to begin. Good afternoon, everyone. And let me call the meeting to order. The Public Defender Service Corporation regular monthly meeting of October 2023 is now called to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Chief Justice F. Philip Carbolito.
I am present and I am logged on from my chamber here at the judiciary.
Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarena III. Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarena III.
Yeah, he's not with us right now.
Okay. Trustee Cynthia V. Ikubi.
I am present. Good afternoon, and I am here in my law office in Agana.
Trustee Donna Muñoz Canata.
I am here and I'm logged in Madison Square Garden in New York.
Guam Bar President Jackie T. Terlahi. Your Honor, you can see that Jackie's trying to come in, right?
Yes, yeah, we'll give her all right. Okay, Jackie, your name was just called. If you can acknowledge.
Present.
All right. Our president of the Guam Bar is acknowledged and present for our meeting. Thank you all. I certify that we have 4 or 5 members logged on. We do have a quorum. Due notice of the meeting have been provided in our packets, and so we are able to conduct the regular business of the board this afternoon. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of October 18th, September 27th, 2022. Is there a motion to adopt?
There's a motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any objection? There being none. All those in favor, please indicate your support by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. The next part of our agenda is under all business, and we start with the financial update from our finance controller, Mr. Mike Moreno. Mr. Moreno, you're recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor, and good afternoon to everybody. For the Public Defender Service Corporation and the alternate public defender, we are at 47%. That is because we have just received our first allotment release on October 13th. For fiscal year 2022, we received our final allotment release, which completed our funding, including APDs for fiscal year 2022 on September 29th. So we have 100% that was allotted, appropriate to us. The allotment release went through. We do have for fiscal year 2023 an additional funding for the pay adjustment, which is funded from a separate fund by DOA. So we have requested DOA for the release of the pay adjustment funding in one lump sum by next month. We have not received any word yet whether they will or not. As this week is payroll week, we anticipate another release next week to increase the percentage for our use. For the domestic violence program, the unused balance as of today for Stop 2020 is about 3,300. And for this, because it did expire in June 2022, unless an extension is approved, this balance will have to be surrendered back to the governor's office. One grant is still available for DVP for the domestic violence program, and that is the Improving Criminal Justice Response Grant, or what we call ICJR. Yeah, the funding available from the ICJR grant is $112,000 and will be used for reimbursements for the domestic violence program starting from October advances. For the Elder Justice Center, for fiscal year 2022, we have invoiced a total of $188,000 from the grant amount of $192,144, with a balance of $4,063. We have asked DPHSS whether this balance can be rolled over to this fiscal year, which is 2023, but we have not received any official reply. Of the 188,000 invoiced, we have received 160,000 as of today. The only outstanding invoice in the amount of 28,000 is for the last month of fiscal year 2022. And that is all for the reporting of the finances for PDSC, APD, and DBP.
So what's the status of obtaining the extension that allow us to use the remaining funds for the domestic violence?
I did
Right.
not receive, yes, I did not receive any word from EJC whether they had submitted a request for the extension
This is for DVP.
for DVP. Yes, I will verify. We can verify with Ms. Diego if they did or not, or Ron, Attorney Ron Haynes.
Okay,
And Mike, this is, just to clarify, Mike, this is for the Outer Justice Center grant, right? The LAS grant?
No, it's
No,
for,
it's for the DVP,
Oh, okay.
Domestic Violence Program, the STOP program.
Oh, no, but even the LAS grant, right? We didn't build it full grant amount. We're like short, like 4,000.
Yes, the 4,000 we had asked the public health whether it can be rolled over to fiscal year 2023, but we just not have received any reply from them.
Okay.
and that request is in writing?
Yes, yes, sir.
And Ron, do you have any update as to the domestic violence request for extension so that the money doesn't have to be returned back to the federal program?
I don't have any updates as to that. I've got to look into that and find out what that would
We
be.
need to file a request for extension.
Your Honor, in the past, with the domestic violence program, which is now under the CLC Civil Law Center for both EJC and DVP. In the past, for DVP, we were able to bring it into the next fiscal year. So we do have a written request. We just need to get the federal programs at the governor's office to say that it's okay for us to bring it forward to the fiscal year of 2023. But in the past, we were able to carry it forward.
All right, okay, I just want to make sure that we make the request in writing and that we follow it up so that we are taking the initiative of making the request and not have it fall through the cracks.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item has to do with the report from our executive director, Mr. Hattori.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chief Justice and Board of Trustee members. So basically, we're just providing our fiscal year 2022 stats. I think we're on page, if we go to page 10, that really just shows the number of cases that we've closed in the last fiscal year. About 1,000. Is that the closed one? Which page are?
Yes, this is the close.
Okay, 1,064. And so that could be anything from dismissals to someone going on probation or deferred pleas. So anyone who enters a plea goes to post, right? It's kind of weird. I'm looking at a different one. But anyway, so I mean, that one's about 1,064 that we've closed or moved from pre to post or diversion, deferred plea or some other inactive case status. All right, and then the next page is page 11
Page 10.
or 10. Yeah, and then we have a breakdown by courtrooms. And so if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see that, you know, we picked up, yeah, that's what I'm looking at, the 1,210 new cases. And so, and you could see that it's spread out pretty evenly between corresponding judges, like the presiding judge and Judge Senzon. They get more or less the same courtroom assignments, and they pretty much have this more or less the same numerical caseload. All right, and then the next page is the Yeah, and then this one is our actual active cases. And so this one, our grand total for active cases is, it's kind of, we have several numbers down here, but that 5958, that one's, it sounds a lot, really large, but most of those are on probation, about 33,010 are post-judgment. We have 1,153 pre-judgment cases. And then we have about 1,600 cases where warrants are outstanding. And so the pre-bench warrant ones are the ones that, I mean, some of these date back to the creation of this office. So that's about 808, but we are, those come in regularly. Like every day we have a return of warrant. So this number varies probably, but we definitely have 1,153 pre-judgment cases at this point. So I mean, I think our caseload with the numbers we have, we're managing. Obviously, we're a little apprehensive about what's going to happen with the 8th judge now that it's been announced. I mean, it's great that they're going to have an 8th judge, and we don't know if it's what their assignment's going to be. The system that we currently have, where we have basically an average of 3 attorneys per criminal courtroom, is very effective. I don't know if we'll be able to maintain that with a 5th criminal judge, but we'll make it work one way or the other. We just, we don't have any idea where that 8th judge will be allocated. But other than that, Your Honor, I don't have anything else to add.
Any questions for our executive director? If there are none, let's move on to our alternate public defender, our supervising attorney, Annie Gale. Annie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. I apologize to the board. Our abacus was down, so we could not put together our stats. And I think at the last board meeting, Your Honor, you specifically wanted really good, at least numbers regarding our withdrawal. So I'll have that with the percentages at the next board meeting, and I apologize. We couldn't put it together for this packet. And I do have new business, and I'll just wait for the new business to report. The only other thing is we've just been super busy at the office with lots of trials and lots of motions, and we've just been very busy, as the court well knows. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Gale. Any questions for Attorney Gale? There being none, let's move on in our agenda then to our Elder Justice Center, and Ron Haynes, you're recognized.
Yes, Your Honor. Our statistics as well did not make it into the packet. We had them prepared, but for some odd reason didn't make it. I was doing totals for January through September, and in those totals from January through September, we have closed 371 cases and provided 797 services, as well as 21 services of advice on guardianships. We haven't done any guardianships, but we've just given information and advice. But aside from that, we have done 797 services. From May through September, we've had 16 outreaches, 9 trainings, 10 conferences, 15 collaborations, and 56 home and hospital visits. So we too have been very busy, and we have new business to discuss as well, but we'll wait for Your Honor's instructions on that.
All right. Any questions?
Your
Yes,
Honor,
Kathy.
I must apologize to EJC because they did submit their report in time, but I just thought because I had a whole lot on the agenda, I deliberately left their stats out. So I did inform Gwen if she could just report it. to the board, but it will be included in the next packet. But that was my fault, Ron. Sorry about that.
All right, why don't you just go ahead and circulate it after this board meeting to all the board members? And so while we have that on our minds, we can look at this at the report.
Okay, will do, Your Honor.
All right, so let's just go ahead, Ron, under new business. You have the floor and in reference to the extended service. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, my Zoom broke up. I'm just going on that you're asking me about new business. So we have drawn up the resolution as the board instructed last time and provided it in the packet for you to look at. I believe it is significantly, well, I think it's pretty tight, as Judge La Morena wanted to make sure it was tightly drafted. I think it is. It doesn't reach too far. We are looking at the resolution portion to extend to Guam seniors beginning at the age of 55. And that will take place while we are using the funds under the American Rescue Plan Act, which will carry us through December 31st of 2025. It also takes in what we talked about last time, which was including giving general advice, which includes the landlord tenant, assessing that, giving legal advice and instruction, and when appropriate, which frankly is some tenants are not educated enough to carry through the representation. We would provide representation primarily in defense against the evictions. In addition to that, we have in the resolution that we would provide advice, instruction, and referral inappropriate with healthcare, adult care admissions, long-term care admissions, utilities, guardianship, abuse, neglect, consumer issues, and defense against the revocation of public benefits or assistance. So that is what we've outlined. That's what we've addressed in this resolution, and we are asking the board to consider.
Any comments, Attorney Ekubi or President Jackie, in reference to this resolution?
I don't have any, Your Honor.
The only question I've got is whether the report that was not provided in the packet includes the statistics that support this request for the resolution.
Yes, if I can answer the statistics, I think we provided some statistics in the prior meeting about how many we were referring out, things like that. We have from March through September, we had 7 questions of landlord tenant. There were 23 questions referring to housing assistance, disability, birth certificates, pretty much a miscellaneous category, which at this point, we just refer to the Guam Bar. And unfortunately, the Guam Bar is unable to keep track of statistics and what happens to those. We also had questions about deed of gift, 7 from March through September, probate, 5, guardianship over an adult, 6, guardianship over a minor, 4, questions about quitclaim deeds, 2, and like I said, the landlord tenant was at 7, and that's just from March through September. Further statistics on breaking down any kind of landlord tenant issues We've attempted to go to some of the senior centers on that, but we haven't been able to really get into enough of them while we're continuing to do the work that we are. What we're looking at here, the landlord tenant is, and this I mentioned the last time as well, this is what is in our grant that is considered the priority. We are really not concerned about being overrun with that. Even if we took all 7 from March through September, it probably wouldn't be many. And on the representing them, we wouldn't even know how many would be represented. My guess is, and this is just a guess, and I know we're not at a place of guesses, but you know, a lot of this can be resolved with just simple advice. It's just that we've been unable to do that. So we're asking to consider that we be allowed to do that. And in the cases when, like I said, when we can refer or instruct the client themselves how they can represent themselves in the situation, especially if we're not finding merit, we would do that. I don't think it would amount to many cases, and even if it did, we're always in the position to say we have to refer you because we have too many cases at the moment. So I think we would be in a good position right now to begin doing this.
The only other comment I have, Mr. Haynes, is that this is the second time that I've been at a public meeting where you have referred to the Guam Bar Association's failure to maintain statistics to assist the Guam Elder Justice Center. As you know, I am the president of the Guam Bar Association, and I just simply want to tell you that I don't have 2.5 attorneys and support staff. We have an administrative staff of 1. So although we're not able to maintain the same statistics, I'd ask that you give a little bit of due respect to the one man who runs our entire show with an extremely limited budget. So I just wanted to say that out loud simply because twice I've been at a meeting where this has been referred to. I know that you are interested in expanding your kind of reach to give some advice with respect to deeds of gift and to other possible land transactions. Mr. Haynes, you have previously asked this board and the 2 private attorneys on this panel who have assisted the public defender if we could assist in some form of training. What type of training do you think is necessary for your 2.5 attorneys to be prepared to address the land transaction issues that you may encounter for this particular age group?
Well, first of all, I would like to say in no way did I mean any disrespect to the referral service. And I do understand that it's just one person who is doing that. And I did not express failure. I expressed the inability because there's only one man. So I do understand that. So if it came out offensively, I want to apologize and say that was not my intent. My intent is only to express the fact that it can't be done under the circumstances.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that a lot.
And secondly, as to the training, most of what I envision is just a sit-down discussion because of your concern and board member Acubi's concern that you know that there are a lot of things to take into consideration when looking at a deed of gift, for example, and so, quite frankly, I think we could sit down in a meeting and make sure that we have it all covered. You guys were concerned that we would. We did talk about the possibility of a deed of gift having having, of course, capital gains effects. It has effects with the MIP, very unusual circumstance. I would think that would come into play, but it has those kind of and Medicaid issues that if somebody is doing a deed of gift in order to try and get Medicaid, that's not going to work. So those concerns we're aware of, but I just want to make sure that we're not missing anything. And, you know, you guys are the board and supporting us, and we would like to hear you on that and give us the warnings that we need to have if you think we're missing something. Also, you know, encumbrances and even debt collection, things that come into play. Those are things that we're aware of. And I know you do these things regularly. So folks here that are coming for services at the Elder Justice Center, we don't want to miss anything either. So we just love to have your expertise on this.
Yeah, and Ron, can I just ask, how many people are on your wait list?
We don't have a wait list. We opened 45 cases so far in October. We're addressing those cases as they come. As soon as they get the paperwork in, we don't have a wait list any longer.
Oh, okay. I mean, so part of the reason you want to help 55 and older is statutorily, they are Manumco under Guam law, and right now we're discriminating within the Manumcos by only servicing the ones that the federal grant funds. But this is with ARPA money, you're able to expand services to help 55 and older, just with those three basic the wills, power of attorneys, and the DNRs.
Yes, and I think we've developed a system that allows us to move through the cases quickly, and so we can extend to some younger members of our Manumco here and reach them as well.
Okay, and I just want to let the board know, like, historically, this office has created thousands of deeds. Before there was a moratorium, we were doing deeds regularly. And I don't remember the corporation ever getting sued because of a defective deed. I do know that Ron has been investigating the legalities of the different types of deeds, whether its impact on MIP and other things. And we're also discussing other uniform laws of transfer that have been enacted in other jurisdictions to deal with the probate issues that Guam faces daily. You go to any village, there are empty houses that are abandoned because nobody has the money to probate it. But other jurisdictions have enacted uniform transfer on death deeds that would avoid probate and allow our real estate to become transferable once again. We have tons of property on Guam that will never be transferred because you require 3 generations of probate, and who's going to pay for it, right? They'll eventually end up being condemned and escape to the state. But Ron, you guys definitely have the manpower to expand services without affecting your representation of the 60 and olders?
I think we do, and I think we've demonstrated that by getting through a very large wait list in not that long of a period of time, especially, you know, even before we added another attorney. So we have the manpower to do it.
Great, thanks, Ron.
If I could just, I'm sorry, Your Honor, let me, I appreciate Mr. Haynes in trying to streamline a lot of this. And I'd like to have maybe some discussion on the talk of conveyances of property. I'm not a proponent. I disagree with Mr. Hattori, although in the past it's happened. I can tell you right now as a practitioner, I'm contacted by the title companies always on a regular basis because the deeds were done wrong. And so notwithstanding.
If it was a public defender deed, bring it to our attention, and we have malpractice insurance that'll cover it. But I've not once ever received a complaint about a deed that our office has prepared. So if you have those list of deeds that we've done wrong, you know, bring it to our attention.
Thank you. I think my comment, though, is I'm reluctant to expand it to talk about doing deed work, because as times have changed in the last decade, there have been a lot more issues that have arisen. And I'm not sure if Attorney Terlahi, from a practitioner point of view, can bring it out. But I can tell you that a large part of when you do conveyances of real property, there are due diligence requirements. I'm not saying that public defender couldn't, but you're carving out a whole different area. And I've been very, 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 very particular of how I handle my practice with regards to preparing any kind of real estate transactions or deed documents. We've seen a lot of cases on the civil side that have come up before our lower court and have gone up on appeal. And so I'm just a little reluctant, because I think that that is an area that I think will require a lot of attention. And I'm not sure at this point whether I would support, the elder justice system moving in that direction right now. I think we really want to solidify and make sure that all the other things that which this body has already given authority for the elder justice to do without now expanding it beyond. And so, again, I'm not saying that public defender did deeds and it's a problem. It's not I can't do that. It's the title companies that hire the lawyers. And to correct it, to either see, one, it can be resolved administratively, or two, do we need to go in and before the court seeking an action to correct the deed, seeking quiet title action. So my thought process is, I appreciate that, the elder justice is focusing on certain things. And I think, Ron, you've pointed out some good things as far as evictions. I think that's very critical. You're hoping to open it up to include maybe a younger group of Manumcos. That's good. And I just don't think that at this juncture, we really should move in the direction of doing real estate. The organizations consider that, because it's a lot of work. I have spent a large part of my practice going through CLEs, doing a lot of research, working with title companies, working with other attorneys to try to correct these properties, these problems. And I would not want to see this organization get involved in or be subject to a lawsuit because somehow or another there was something was not followed through. There was not an exercise of due diligence. And that is the reason why we have different attorneys that do different types of legal work. You won't always see practitioners who do a big bulk of their practice with real estate property transactions or anything involving conveyances of property handle defense of criminal cases. So I'm just very, very careful about doing this. I would not want to expose this organization to the possibility of opening this up to handling now transactional, property transactional work, because it is a lot of work. And so that's what I would like to put on Mr. Chief Justice. So I think we're doing a good thing, just focusing on improving what we need to do. And as time goes on, I think we'll see more and more elderly people come before I refer people over to focus on powers of attorney, on wills, eviction stuff that need to be handled. And I think that's going to be a big pool already. And as time goes on, I anticipate that there will be more and more people seeking assistance from the elder justice system just on those items alone. Thank you.
If I may, Your Honor,
Yes, go ahead.
just shortly, I would say that the resolution that is before the board today doesn't include any property transactional issues. And it is because I have pumped the brakes a little bit to say we need to have every base covered, which, as Councilor Terlaje had brought up, having some training, having some sit down, things like that. So the resolution actually is absent of any kind of property transactions at this time. So, and I do say pump the brakes. I would love to help in certain cases in the future. And hopefully, sooner rather than later. But at this point, I'm in agreement that we need to address the things that we can address, which are in this resolution right now, and continue to examine the deeds of gifts and things like that.
I do note that the current expressions in this resolution doesn't contain any reference to title conveyances. However, there is a reference as previously approved by the board. I didn't go back to check. Is there any prior resolution where authorization was granted to the Elder Justice Center to prepare deeds of conveyances?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah.
No, there was none, Your Honor.
All right, so then this current resolution doesn't expand it to include deeds of conveyances. So if there are no further discussion, is there a motion to adopt or to modify this resolution in any way that other board members may deem appropriate?
Your Honor,
Mr.
I'd like to
Chairman?
motion. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I just see the bottom half of the resolution? I don't have this. Okay, there it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I don't have it in the share screen. I have my copy up. So can we put that up in the share screen? I kind of lost it. But do you have it, the resolve clauses? Let's go down to the resolve clauses on the share screen. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, Jackie.
I don't have that.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I had all the resolutions in front of me.
Yep.
Yep, yep. Yeah, this is-
Mr. Chairman, I believe Trustee Munya Kanata may have had a motion before I asked to see the resolutions. I apologize.
Yeah, I was going to recognize her next. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
There is a motion to adopt the resolution as presented, sir.
All right, and the resolution is relative to establishing the Elder Justice Center as a permanent division as expressed in resolution number 01-23. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second the motion, Your Honor, based on what has been presented in the resolution and its resolve clauses as far as what the expansion will include.
All right. And any further discussion? There
Mr.
being
Chairman?
none-
Here,
I'm sorry. Yes, Jackie, you're recognized.
Thank you. I mean, the only issue I would present is the possibility of subjecting the permanency of the Elder Justice Center to the primary mission of the Public Defender's Office. I know what we have on our agenda today is a request to enhance the pay for all of the attorneys across the board. And obviously, I start to become very concerned as our budget begins to grow and the missions that we have at the public defenders. So to the extent that the Elder Justice Center is in this resolution, is established as a permanent division of the PDSC. I don't know, I may ask a motion to subject it to the primary mission of indigent defense, so that in the future, when we're looking back after our budget has grown exponentially, and perhaps in an instance where we do not have the federal grant available, that we need to also consider the fact that the establishment of this entity, of this division, is because of the fact that we have budget support at this time. If we didn't have this budget support, I don't see how we would be able to function with this permanent division with the current budget that we have in place. That would just be my suggestion. But obviously, I am offering that as a way for us to look back and say, when we established this division as a permanent entity, that we did take into account the fact that we have significant factors supporting its establishment at this time.
So do you want to, at this time, since this is mainly to continuing with the services provided by the federal funds primarily, do you want to strike that the Elder Justice Center is hereby established as a division of the Public Defender Service Corporation, and just have it resolve that the Public Defender Service Corporation shall continue to administer the services of the Elder Justice Center as previously approved by the board and provided in the resolution? Will that address your concern?
Yes, I think that would address my concerns. So I guess that would be a request to amend this resolution.
All right, there's a motion to amend the resolution to strike the word the Elder Justice Center is hereby established as a division of the PDSC in the first resolve clause. It's been moved to strike that language. Is there a second to that motion to amend?
I'll go ahead and second that part.
All right, on the amendment to the resolution, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Jackie, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Donna?
Go back to the updated citation.
It's probably loud at Madison Square Garden. I'll also support the motion, and so the amendment passes, and that language is stricken. On the amended motion, any further discussion? There being
No
none, on the amended motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries, and the amended resolution is duly adopted. The next item on the agenda is the what is the next item on the agenda? Is the above step recruitment. That's right, the above step recruitment of the Alternative Public Defender's Office for Attorney Brian Scanlon.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Annie, you are recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. When Mr. Lemons came to our office, he was hired to fill in the spot that Miss Zona had created, or we needed to fill. And now that Mr. Lemons has left the office, we still need another experienced trial attorney to help fill in the void that we have. We have tentatively asked, we're asking the board to hire Mr. Scanlon. He's from Chicago. He's a very experienced trial attorney. He's interested in coming to Guam because his partner is, he and his partner would eventually like to transition to the Philippines, and they want to be able to go to the Philippines frequently. But at this point in time, we would request that we hire him above step. If the court, it's not the court, if the board recalls, the reason why we were able to hire above step for Mr. Lemons is he did have previous GovGuam experience, and so we hired him at above step instead of just the initial attorney step one of the pay grade. Now I understand the court may, sorry, the court, I keep saying the court. The board may have questions for myself, so I would be willing to answer any questions. We did submit his resume, which is attached to the next 2 pages to the minutes, to the agenda.
I'd like to defer this matter until we address the adjustments, if we are going to address them, and go back. Because my question is this level 4, step 6, does that include any adjustments that is currently being proposed by the?
No, not at this point, Your Honor. I didn't
All right.
I didn't address it. I could put it in, or I'll wait till after you address the adjustments.
Yeah, well, why
Went
don't we do
straight
that?
with what the normal level is. Sorry.
All right, so we'll defer this matter, and let's go to the next item, which is the pay scale adjustment. There were some developments that was just brought to my attention that it was not raised to me by any of the staff members of Public Defender. And because my understanding is this pay adjustment of 6% and 15%. The 6%, the 6% for the non-law enforcement personnel at the Public Defender, that was included in the Budget Act, and there was an appropriation for that amount. So that is something that is there is funds appropriated to support that. But the 15%, there's been no funding for that. There's no separate appropriation, as I understand it. And correct me, Steve, if I'm wrong, that there's no funding in the Budget Act to fund the 15% pay adjustment, similar to the criminal prosecution division of the Attorney General's office. And the Public Defender is not authorized to use prior year lapses to pay for current year expenses in its Budget Act. So there would be no authorization for the board to approve any prior year lapses being used for the current fiscal year. Is that correct?
No, my understanding, okay, first, we didn't ask for the 15% pay differential because this was an amendment that Speaker Terlahi came up on the floor. And we did message her and say, could you please include us? And but I guess she was must have been too preoccupied with what was going on. So she did not include us. This was about 30 minutes after they were arguing for pay parity because the AG's office had not even asked for a 6% raise for their staff like we did, and like the board thankfully approved. And so when the budget bill came up, there was an amendment to, and it was fair to give them pay parity with our office since we received the 6% and 7% pay raise. So when the speaker introduced her pay differential, obviously we were concerned, right? Because that's going to have a negative impact on our hiring, right? Anyone who wants to work here would have to take a 15% pay cut. And people have student loans, they have families to feed, right? And so obviously it's inequitable, and we would like the board at some point to address that. But obviously we did not foresee this going through. Otherwise we would have asked for funding. My understanding is we do have some funds available from prior appropriations that in prior years we were given authorization to expend our unexpended appropriations until fully expended. We also have some other reserve funds that the board could authorize the use of, and they've done so in the past for other projects that were not funded by the legislature.
So
And
the
so-
short answer to my question is,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
is that the resolution then only pertains to the 7% for law enforcement and 6% for non-law enforcement, where the funds were appropriated by the legislature. And there's no request to, on the part of the board. I'm a little confused because, you know, all this broad statutory language is in here, but the Budget Act doesn't support the board approving prior year lapses to fund any further pay adjustments. And so it's just limited to this resolution that's currently shared on the screen of 7%, 6%. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes, Chief Justice. So this really is just having our pay scale match what the legislature has appropriated. The
All right.
6% for non-law enforcement and 7% for law enforcement.
It's the other way around, actually. For law enforcement, it's 7%, and non-law enforcement is 6%. So is there a motion to adopt resolution number 02-23? The funds have already been appropriated by the legislature in the Budget Act, and this is just to adjust the pay scales correspondingly, since that has now been recognized by the legislature, and the appropriate authority that the legislature has vested to make those adjustments subject to legislative appropriation is the Board of Trustees.
A motion.
All right, so it's been moved by Trustee Donna Muñoz Canata. Is there a
Your Honor,
second?
I'm sorry, can I just clarify? So what we're doing now is it's just to, it's already been budgeted and there are funds available. And it's for 7% increase for law enforcement pay with the federal public defender, and then 6% for non-law enforcement, correct? I just want to make sure, because there's been so much discussions about these
Correct.
increases, and so, okay.
Correct, and the 6%, Attorney Ecubi, would be the administrative staff, the lawyers at working at the public defender, including the executive director and the deputy executive director, and the law enforcement are the investigators that receive the 7% adjustments and whatever category falls under law enforcement. Correct.
And the funds are available. I just want to make sure that the funds are available. So
Yes, I did check the Budget Act, and it was included in the as a separate item in the Public Defenders FY 2023 Budget Act. That covers both PD and APD. And I just want on the record for you to verify, Steve, that is the case. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes. And that's so when we hire someone new, they'll come in at the step 1 plus the 6%. So it'll just increase all the steps and grades by the 6% that was authorized by the legislature.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And that's the resolution in front of us that's been moved by Trustee Canata and is awaiting further action.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure. I know there were a couple of other increases, and I just wanted to clarify this. I'll go ahead and second the motion, Your Honor.
All right, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? There being none on the resolution that is currently before us, PDSC 02-23, to adopt the pay scales effective October 1st, 2022, the beginning of the fiscal year, for a 7% increase for law enforcement pay and 6% for non-law enforcement pay for both the Public Defender's Office and the Alternative Public Defender's Office. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the ayes have it. The motion has been duly adopted and the resolution is approved.
Your Honor,
Yes, Kathy.
administratively, that would be resolution number 0323. So I'll go ahead when I transmit it, it'll be 0323.
All right. All right, so we'll note that correction. It's 0323.
Thank you, Your
All right.
Honor.
And so we have the above step the pay scale adjustment. I want to go back to the above step recruitment for Mr. Brian Scanlon. And so this was based on the original pay scale. So I assume that Annie, that
That's
this,
correct, Your Honor.
will be adjusted under the new attorney pay scale if the board approves it. Is that
That's
correct?
correct. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is there any motion to adopt the requests of the supervising attorney of the APD to hire Mr. Scanlon with on the above step recruitment of level 4, step 6, the annual compensation of 94,000. Okay, that keeps jumping around. 194 plus the 6% that we've just adopted in adjusting the pay scale.
Motion.
All right, it's been moved by Attorney Jackie Terlahi.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded by Attorney Ekubi. There are no further discussion on the motion to adopt the above step compensation recruitment for Mr. Scanlon as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the above step recruitment is duly approved. We are going to table this item on the new business attorney pay parity because there is no funding to support any adjustment, and I don't want to raise any false hopes on the part of our lawyers at the Public Defender and APD, and we just don't have the authority to approve it without the funding.
Well, Your Honor, I just want to clarify that we do have funding for it.
No,
It's just
you don't have
not-
funding for it.
Well, no, the board can authorize the use of our unexpended, our reserve fund.
No, we
Like-
cannot. There is no,
Specifically.
the use of prior year lapses has been taken away from the public defender for FY 2023, and we're not authorized to use any prior year lapses for current year obligations.
I'm just historically,
Kathy?
I know that this board has
Kathy, what's your understanding?
passed resolutions.
Because in the past, the language was included in the Budget Act.
We
Oh,
don't have
no,
it in our
Yeah.
section of this fiscal year budget. You are correct.
There.
That was just brought to my attention before the board meeting, and that there is no authorization for the Board of Trustees to use prior year lapses to pay current year obligations.
Oh,
Because
no,
the
what I'm
language,
saying, Chief Justice, is that historically this board has used our reserve funds to pay for things like off-island trips that were not funded by the appropriations bill. And it's been used to pay for other, other costs that, because there's, the Public Defender Service Corporation for the last 12 years has been allowed to retain its unexpended appropriations. And it goes into an account, and it's a reserve fund that we're able to tap on when necessary for, as approved and authorized by the board.
I understand, Steve, but since I've been on the board and that has happened, the language was included in the Budget Act.
Mhm.
Kathy and Gogui, do you agree or disagree?
I agree. That wasn't included in this FY budget.
Like, for example, when we had to pay retroactive for the merit bonuses, I believe we did use our reserve funds for some of that.
But Stephen, that was included in the
Budget.
provision for that fiscal year. So
Mhm.
if we look at our section in the budget, we don't have the language for lapse funds.
Oh, no, I know, but when they created this reserve fund, if the legislature wants us to have keep our lapse funds year after year, then who has the authority to justify its use? I would assume that's our board, and they've done that historically. But if we
We've
have to go
done
to
it-
for the
we've done it-
legislature, we'll do that.
We've done it, you know, any certifying officer needs authorization from the legislature to approve the expenditure of appropriated funds. While the legislature may have allowed the public defender to accrue lapses, it can't spend it without express legislative authorization. That was taken away
Okay,
by the legislature in the FY 2023 Budget Act. It was specifically granted to the judiciary, to the legislature, to the AG, to DYA, to Department of Education, but not the public defender.
okay. No, I apologize, Chief Justice. This is the first I heard from Mike Moreno or Kathy Gogui that we would be unable to use $1 million in reserve funds for anything except for what the legislature authorizes. So we'll.
Yeah, and
we'll
I
have-
was just informed an hour beforehand by my staff here when they checked.
Well, I was never informed by my staff, so
Yeah.
I apologize. We'll table the matter and we'll figure another way to get it done. If we start
right.
losing attorneys and our clients go unrepresented, I can't have that on my hands. So I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to take more affirmative action.
Yeah,
Well-
you need to address this to the legislature, Steve, and that's the appropriate authority body to approve this Board of Trustees to act on the proposed pay parity proposal.
Okay.
All right, so this matter will be tabled and you can just let me know where we go from here in any discussions with the oversight chair of the public defender or any other senator in the legislature.
Mhm.
Any matters for public discussion?
None.
And anything else to come before the board that we can discuss that's on the agenda? All right, there being none at this time, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 22nd at 12:30 p.m. I want to thank the management for the lunch provided, the box lunch provided to the board members.
Yes.
Very much appreciate that.
Mhm.
And at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, so Donna can get
Motion,
that to
I'll-
her
motion
game.
to
I'll
adjourn.
second, Your Honor.
It's been moved, seconded, and thank you, Ms. Donna, for logging on from where you're located. It's been
Yes,
moved,
sir. No
seconded.
problem.
There being no objection, the meeting of the public defender is duly adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your
Good night,
assistance.
everyone. Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.